thì nó hơi nhỏ, khó theo dõi. Tôi chuyển qua màn hình to. Okay, anyway. Now, the same. So in legal English and especially in a contract, we see the word the same in the contract a lot. So in this situation, what does it stand for? What does it refer to? Any idea?
I think in this context, the word the same mean the punctual payment of all sums.
The punctual payment of all sums now only.
No, just the punctual payment of all sums.
Yeah, any other ideas?
I think it's referred to the commissary note to be mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So at least we'll have two answers for the word the same. Right? So that's why we say with the legalese, one of them is the same, they cause ambiguity. So usually it refers to the noun or the noun phrase nearest to the word, right? But who knows, is in a context, especially in legal or in a contract, we need to be very clear so to avoid people interpret one word with different meanings. So that's why we should not use the word the same, right? And our solution is that we just put the phrase or the noun which it stands for right here, right? So here we can look at the word the same are due. So based on the grammar, we may think that the same here could be something in plural. Yeah. And is there anything in plural? Is there anything in plural form here?
Well, I guess that is the sums that is now owing or may take in the future.
Yeah, so there's only the now own sums, right, in plural form. So based on the grammar, we may guess that's meaning. We guess the same stand for on sums, not the promissory note, not the punctual payments, right? So those are the singular form. But anyway, it's ambiguous, right? For sure. So I got this article from, sorry. So I got this article from a contract. What we when I do with a loan agreement, it's a kind of like there's only one borrower, but there are 5 banks involved in this loan agreement. We call syndicated loan agreements. And in order to like understand this contract, it is not easy. This is a special type of loan, right? Especially you can see the word facility agent, right? So it's very difficult to translate facility agent if you don't know the transaction, if you don't know the nature or the legal regulations of the syndicated loan agreements, right? This is complicated. Why we put the word the same to make it more complicated, right? But anyway, it's up to the one who drafts who draft the contract, and that who wants to make it, according to them, they want to make it short. Otherwise, if you repeat the word, they make it long. In this situation, maybe the same or on some 2 words, right? So it's not a big matter, right? So we got the solution, right? This is the translation. And you can say số tiền đã đến hạn, right? So it's just the sum. For the facility agent, we call thành viên đầu mối cấp tín dụng hợp vốn. We have the decree on cấp tín dụng hợp vốn, syndicated loan agreements. Now, here I have a task for you. They have the word home, church, and please translate this into Vietnamese. It is easier than the previous one. It is in a purchase agreement. This is a sale purchase agreement. And then they use the word home and church. Yeah, now I would like you to translate it and to decide which one home, yeah, and church refers to. Church remedies, what kinds of remedy? And make the purchaser whole is under this agreement. Now, please, if you want to understand it clearly, please translate it. Nào, Bảo Thi.
Dạ em nghe cô.
Yeah, can you translate it?
Nếu bất kỳ biện pháp khắc phục nào được thực hiện bởi công ty hoặc bất kỳ khoản thanh toán nào được thực hiện bởi bất kỳ người bán nào cho người mua đối với bất kỳ khiếu nại nào không liên quan đến thỏa thuận này, hoặc bất kỳ thỏa thuận nào được ký kết theo hoặc liên quan đến thỏa thuận này để làm cho người mua hoàn toàn đồng ý theo thỏa thuận này, biện pháp khắc phục hoặc thanh toán đó sẽ được coi là sự điều chỉnh xem xét của bên mua đối với cổ phần bán mà khoản thanh toán và hoặc yêu cầu liên quan đến hợp đồng này, và việc xem xét sẽ được coi là giảm bớt số tiền của khoản thanh toán đó.
Thank you. Any comments? Any comments or any other translation? No? Consideration means what is consideration, Thùy Trinh? Điều kiện. Châu Long.
Dạ thưa cô, em nhớ consideration là nghĩa vụ đối ứng ở trong hợp đồng.
Nghĩa vụ đối ứng trong trường hợp này nó có nghĩa là gì?
Dạ.
So do you agree with your friend's translation?
Sorry.
Sorry?
Can you repeat the question?
Do you agree with your friend's translation?
Well, part of that, I believe that that means to complete the applications of the purchaser to the buyer. Sorry, from the seller to the purchaser.
Whole means
whole means to fulfill all of the obligations of the seller to the purchaser.
all the obligations?
Yeah, kind of applications or maybe money, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just wonder, after you translate this one, and do you understand what it is? Because if you don't understand the clause, so our translation is not correct, right? Spray the bed screening. So if we don't use like exactly what the noun is or what the noun phrase is, we just replace it by whole and such, that it may cause ambiguity, right? So that's why now it makes the clause complicated, and you're not sure whether you translate it correctly or not. And another reason is that because the sentence, the clause is very long with only one sentence. So they don't use plain language. So in this case, consideration is an amount of money that the seller needs to pay to the purchaser. Now think more about this. This is an amount of money. Now, any other idea? Any other translation? And if you want to have a good translation, when you close your eyes, or when you don't look at the translation or the target language, you can tell people what it is. So you can see that this clause protects the purchaser right? So if the purchaser has any claim to the company or to the sellers, and the company and any of the sellers needs to make any remedy so that the rights of the purchaser will be protected as a whole. So every rights of the purchaser will be protected under the agreement, right? But in case the remedy or the payment is in the amount of money in cash, not in kind, right? There will be an adjustment of the consideration to set off the payment, right? So if the payment is 1 billion and then the remedy is 500,000, then the purchaser just pay the remaining of 500 million instead of like the whole amount of 1 billion. Does it make sense to you? Now, just give you the suggested translation for your the whole here means whole rights, whole interest of the purchaser. And then the consideration here is the amount of money, right? It's the value, the money that the purchaser needs to pay, right? And then if there's any remedy, that they will set off that amount. Any questions? And then if you use whole, it seems like it's short, it's concise, but it causes ambiguity. The lawyers love to do something like that. But just to make it complicated, to make it like difficult to understand, that's a job of the lawyer. No one else can do that. Otherwise, every person can be lawyers. So they use some legalese that can be understood among lawyers themselves and not any other person, right? If you don't have any legal knowledge. So I just give you example of the same whole and such in legal English. And again, with our solution to avoid ambiguity is that we need to break the clauses into different, the clauses of the sentence into shorter sentences. Then we need to make clear what those terms refer to. Like, what is a noun, what is a noun phrase that they refer to, so that it would be easier for people to understand. But for you, you don't remember the word consideration, that please keep in mind, because in the contract, consideration means an amount of money, right? Now, the next point that may cause ambiguity is the way that people use shall, may, and will. So you know that may is for a permission, or may can mean a probability, right? It is a right. You may want to do this and you may want to do that. It means that it's your right to choose if you want to do that or not, right? So in a sentence, in a contract, if we use may, so they give you a permission for you to choose, but This is more than a right than an obligation. But if in the same sentence they use the word shall means no choice. This is an obligation. You need to follow that obligation. And sometimes shall refers to a must. It's a condition precedent. Party A must do this and party B must do that. And it refers to an obligation for sure. Yeah. And shall may mean something in the future, but it's not recommended for people to use it, because in the contract, if you use shall as a future form, it may cause ambiguity. Will, in this case, will and shall have the same meaning. Yeah, to refer to the future, but in contract, people like want to use will to refer to the future, not shall. So in the contract, if you use shall, and people will think that it is an obligation, this is a must, not a future fact. This could be better to use consistently in the contract that may is for the permission, may is for a right to choose, right? And shall, an obligation, no choice is a must, and will, shall, a future, right? Now I have an example. At or before the closing, the seller shall deliver the purchaser price to the escrow agent. So you said the purchase price here is a consideration. And at or before the closing, at least at the closing, the seller shall, or the seller must deliver the consideration to the escrow agent, right? The escrow agent usually is a bank, right? Buyer may waive any of the conditions to buyer's performance in the sole and absolute discretion. So you can say that this is the right of the buyer. If the buyer wants to waive any of the conditions, so they can do that. It's not a must, but it's subject to their sole discretion. It's subject to their decisions whether they want to waive or not. Any questions? Yeah. The mayor is empowered to appoint the chief of police, who shall be the resident of the city. Now please tell me, what does the word shall mean in this context? Now, Khánh Linh, what does it mean, Khánh Linh?
I think that the chief of police who is appointed have obligations as a resident of the city.
Again, please.
I think that the chief of police, when he or she is appointed by the mayor, so they have to fulfill their obligations of a resident in the city.
Yeah, thank you. Hảo Ngân.
I think the songs had some meaning with the will.
Sorry. Sorry. Ngọc Yến. Ngọc Yến. Mạng cô có vấn đề hay sao nữa mà cô không nghe được ai nói gì hết trơn vậy? Thanh Nhàn.
Yes, Miss. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I guess shall means will the chief of police will be a resident of the city.
So it means that like the person who is selected or appointed to be the chief of the police will be the residents of the city, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any other understanding?
I think the meanings of shall is must. It means the mayor have a power to appoint the chef of the police, and the chef of the police must be the resident of that city, not the resident of other city.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So usually people understand this phrase into two meanings. Like the person who is appointed must be the resident of a city. And the second understanding is that after the appointment, he will become the resident of the city, right? So if in the contract we use consistently, shall is for an obligation and will for a future meaning, a future context, and then there will be no misunderstanding. Yeah, among and between. Among a thing to other things individually. So if we say this contract is entered into between party A, party B, and party C, which means that it is like party A versus party B versus party C, or party A versus party C. So it is like something that people do individually. They prefer to the individual, right? When we say among that means a thing to other things collectively. It means that in the country we say this country is entering to among party A, party B, and party C, which means that the obligation and the rights of one party will affect to the other two parties. So it could be better for us to think more about how to use the word between and among in a contract. So actually, in brackets, if there are two parties to the contract, so we use the word between, and if there are more than two, we use the word among. Right? This is a bracket people usually use. Now, please look at the example here and tell me how you understand this. The executor shall divide my estate among or between my son and the two children of my deceased or the deceased daughter. Bảo Ngọc.
Yes, Miss.
Yeah. What do you understand about this sentence? So what's the difference if we choose the word among and if we choose the word between? So if you use among, what does it mean? And if you use between?
The essay shall be divided into 2 parts. So I would like to choose between.
Why do you know it's divided into 2 parts? How can you know? So we're not sure, right? We're not sure. And if you put this sentence into a will, and if you choose among, or between the answer or the situation would be much different, right? If we choose among, what happens? If we choose between, what happens? Hiểu Sang.
Yes.
And what does it mean?
Could you repeat the question?
So the sentence that I'm showing. So if you choose among, what's the meaning? If you choose between, what's the meaning of the sentence?
Okay, so in this case, there will be two situations. The estate could be divided into two parts. If we use between, and it will be divided into three parts if we use the word among.
Yeah, so you can say there could be a big difference, right? Just because of the word choice, right? Thank you, that's good. Now, this is the answer, right? If we choose like, if we choose among, and it's going to be 3 portions. And if we choose between, that will be divided into 2 portions. Then you need to make clear, and this is a solution to avoid ambiguity. Just say 3 portions if you want. And the 3 portions here, how can equally to my son and each of the children of my deceased daughter. So the estate will be divided into 3 portions equally. So if you don't use the word equally, there could be an issue between the 2 children of my deceased daughter. And if you want to divide it into 2 portions, the executor shall divide my estate into 2 portions equally to my son and the 2 daughters of my deceased daughter and the 2 children of my deceased daughter. So in this case, that in the future, there could be a dispute between the 2 children because they get half of the estates. And then how can they be divided? Will they have it equally? Like the estate is 1 billion and they divide it into 2 portions. 500 million is for the son and the other 500 million is for the 2 children. How can we divide that? Will it be divided equally, 550 million for each? The answer is unclear, right? So number 2 is not a good solution either. So if you want to, you can say portion equally to my son and the 2 children of my deceased daughter, and their portion could be shall be divided equally, so that we can avoid like any ambiguity. So beside the semantic ambiguity, we have the syntactic ambiguity as well. Now we have a sentence. All patients must park on the same level as the doctor you're visiting. So what does it mean? Ngọc Mai.
Yes, Miss. I think that this sentence means the patients must park their cars, I can say, in line with the cars of the doctor that they decide to visit.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Because I'm still wondering about this sentence. I mean that the cars of the patients and the doctors must be like in the same line.
Yeah, with this notice, and then you must know where the doctor's cars is, and then you need to park like at the same place, at the same level, the same line, right?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, so it could be difficult, right? So that's why people cannot find the place to park the car, never, if you understand like that. Yeah. What if the doctor doesn't have a car, or what if the doctor does not use the car on that day, so you cannot park your car, right? So that's why the grammar can cause some ambiguity or misunderstanding. So we come to the next section about the syntactic ambiguity. We have the pronouns reference. So we use pronouns to replace noun or a phrase that we about in advance or before that. But it's them, him, her, should, Sam, right? So Sam here is like the one, or should is like the one of the legal list that we talked before. It also relates to the grammar. Seller will load the dumpster on a vehicle provided by buyer. It will be capable of holding 3 tons. It refers to what? An employee shall not remove any type tools from the plants that are not checked with the tool supervisor, and each shift supervisor shall inventory shut tools quickly. So shut tools, so what kinds of tool is it? So the solution here is that to avoid ambiguity, so like you should not use the pronouns reference if you think that it may cause ambiguity. So in this case, you need to use the noun. It refers to, do not use the pronoun. Modifiers. So if we have the items in the series, we have like a educational and corporation working with hearing impaired. Working with hearing impaired and educational educational working with hearing impaired. So it's vague, right? And quality versus identity. Distributor shall supply red, white, and blue caps. It's hard, right? How many caps? How many caps in red? How many in white? How many in blue? Or the caps has 3 colors? Not sure. Yeah. So there is another problem about grammar. You can see here. It's just like the linkage problems. Working dog owners, what does it mean? Owner of the working dog or the owner of the dog who is working. So it's ambiguous, right? And we have the mistake that people usually make is the dangling modifier. So look at the example. If alive but incompetent at the time of my death, my son's guardian shall inherit half of my estate for his continued care and keeping. Who's alive? The son guardian, So what if in case the son's death and the guardian still alive? Can the guardian get any estate? Now, another grammatical points that cause ambiguity. 20 modifiers. We're not sure whether it modifies the preceding or the following word or phrase. If buyer determines the goods are defective within 20 days, seller shall replace them. Within 20 days of the buyer buy the goods, or within 20 days after like the buyer is aware that the goods are defective, and then they will send the goods to the seller to replace them. What's the answer? You don't know, right? So we can have a break now, and then we'll return with other points of other grammatical points that may cause ambiguity. Okay, that break. Hey guys. Now, about the syntactic or grammars. So we have go through first the pronouns reference. It's then like even you sometimes, right? Her, him, such, Sam, and also with the modifiers. Yeah. So the thing that we study in like at high school or when you do the TOEIC or IELTS courses, and you can see people usually refer to the dangling modifiers, right? Then the passive voice. So in legal English, people prefer using the passive voice. And in Vietnamese, when you translate or when you use their legal English or Vietnamese English, we should use the active voice instead of the passive voice. Now here they say, to prove satisfaction of the notice requirements, a career service approved by the Department of State or under 34 USC blah, 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 must be used. What does it mean? Who use the service? Right? So in the contract, party A may use it, or party B may use it, purchaser may use it, or seller may use it. To make it clear, to avoid any ambiguity, please make it clear. The agent, right? The agent here is, for example, the parties. So both of the parties are the parties. So either the parties are party A or party B. It should be clear. So to prove satisfaction of the notice requirements, the parties must use the career service. And this service is approved by the departments of the state, right? And you can separate it into another sentence, or you can say approved by. So in this situation, approved by can be understood in this case. But for some other cases, it could be better for us to say very clearly which is approved by. Yeah. So our solution in passive voice is using clear structure, clear punctuation. And for clear structure, it could be like ideal if we convert it into the actual voice, the active voice. Now particles. So no person shall accost another wearing a police uniform. Who wear the police uniform? No person or another person? This could be clear, right? So in this case, people can understand that it is another. But if it's another, it doesn't make sense at all, right? Chain preposition. Each stockholder of a Chapter 9 corporation in Georgia is entitled to. Some, in this situation, we have off and in, but some other weeks we have off and off. So a lot of prepositions off in the same noun phrase. So that could cause like ambiguity, and also like it may be understood by different meanings, or it cannot be understood sometimes. So the solution, try to avoid a change of preposition. You can use possessive case if we use of or you may want to separate it into different sentences. Yeah, we use negative in a sentence, negative pregnancy. In the recital of a controversial of givers, lungs, and dragon fruits, the parties acknowledge that Solar is not a merchant of givers. What does it mean? So, you know, previously we studied about the contents of a contract, and we know what the recital is, right? So the recital will reveal everything about each transaction and the relevant transaction, the purpose of the party to enter into the contract, right? So this is a contract for sale of givers, lungs, and dragon fruits. And then if you say the seller is not, so in the recital, and then you use a negative one, and people is doubtful. It's not the merchant of the givers, and how about the lungs and the dragon fruits, right? So it could be clear, and do not use negative. So in contract, you should avoid using negative as much as possible. Now, if and then. So you know that in the if clause, we use if and then comma. We don't have the word then. If someone uses then, it is considered as incorrect sentence, right? But in legal English, people prefer using if and then just to describe a consequence. To describe a sequence. If this happened and then this happened. But of course, like if you want to express an if clause and a main clause, and the main clause start with then, and we may think about, yeah, this is an order, this is a sequence. It's not like if this happened, like and then what happened next. It's just like a we have an assumption. So it's not clear, right? And if we use if to refer to a assumption, like in case of or something like that, so we don't need to use then. But don't be surprised if people use if and then in legal English. So because it's used to show a cause and effect, right? Owner may not deny request for term extensions because of anticipated labor disputes. So because of the labor dispute, or because of the anticipated labor dispute, so the owner may not deny request for term extensions. So what does it mean? Now think about how ambiguous because of causes in this situation. Châu Long, how can we understand this one? Is it ambiguous according to you?
Yes, I can understand this sentence as two. I have two ways of understand this sentence. The first one is that because of the reason why the owner may deny, or the reason of the time extensions.
So you mean that because of the anticipated labor dispute, the owner may not deny request for time extension?
Yes.
And the second understanding is that the owner may not deny. Sorry?
Yes, please continue.
The second understanding is that because the owner may not deny the request for time. The owner may not deny what kinds of requests? Request for time extension because of anticipated labor disputes, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you're correct that we may understand it into two different ways. So make it clear, right? Just rewrite it to make it clear. So we have different ways to do that. Is subject to the context of the meaning. Unless means if not, right? Unless the ship collects peerless comes on Wednesday, I will buy the curtain. So what does it mean? Now, please think how ambiguous it is. Now, Queen Mai.
Yes.
What's your understanding about this one?
Um, I think that the ends will by a curtain indicates that the ship don't come on Wednesday.
So what do you mean?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's not easy at all, right? It's
Yeah.
quite ambiguous. Anyone who can give the answer, Nghe, please.
Me neither. I can hardly understand this sentence.
Sorry, Nghe.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was saying that it is for me hard to understand this sentence.
So how about in Vietnamese, Nghe? If you translate it into Vietnamese, what happens?
If I translate this sentence into Vietnamese, it wouldn't make sense. For example, trừ khi thuyền Peerless đến vào ngày thứ tư, Acme sẽ mua vải cô tông. That's how I translate that.
Yeah. So trừ phi in Vietnamese is more ambiguous than the word unless in English, right? So that's why we shouldn't translate unless into trừ phi. So trừ phi, which means that certainly, I don't know. It's trừ phi is also ambiguous. So in this case, if we use unless in legal English, it causes a lot of ambiguity. And we should rewrite it into if not, right? If the ship, but instead of say if the ship not, if the ship is not coming on Wednesday, we say if the ship comes after Wednesday, right? And it will buy the curtain. For example, you can say exactly when, and we use the positive sentence, not a negative one. Now we have a sentence. The guarantor shall register this guarantee with the competent security registrar if it is so required by applicable regulations and or by the facility agents. Okay, what does it mean? It's and so. Think about the answer. Vivi, please.
I think it meaning guarantee, and so required to be registered.
It refers to the guarantor or the guarantee.
The guarantee.
It refers to the guarantee, and so refers to the registration.
Right. Required to registration.
The requirement for the registration is
yes.
So. Yeah, thank you. Any other idea? Any volunteer? No one. Thảo Nguyên.
Yeah.
It refers to what, and so refers to what?
I think it refer to
It refers to any volunteer. Cả lớp mình thua câu này sao? Sử dụng ngữ pháp mà, câu này là sử dụng cấu trúc ngữ pháp để giải thích mà. Các bạn nhớ lại cấu trúc ngữ pháp đi, cái này nó không có chị, nó hơi dài dài một tí thôi, xíu. Mình nhớ cấu trúc it is said that, it is recommended that.
Cô ơi, em đoán thử nha cô. Nghĩ là it là this guarantee, còn so là the competent security register.
Sorry, no.
Dạ rồi.
It here is a form subject. It là chủ từ giả. Nó không phải là pronoun reference. It's a form subject. It is said that. Nhớ không? It is said that, it is recommended that, it is required that. So it is a form subject, so it here has no meaning. And so means the registration. The guarantor shall register this guarantee with the competent security registrar if such registration is required by. Nếu cô viết lại như vậy thì nó sẽ dễ hơn. If such registration, or if the registration is required by the applicable regulations and or by the facility agents. Đấy. Các bạn hiểu một cái cách khác nữa thì điều đó có nghĩa là cái câu này có vấn đề. Phải không? Thì các bạn hiểu chữ it là guarantee, tôi thấy nó cũng hợp lý á. Who knows? Why not? Right? If the guarantee is required the registration by, nó cũng rất là hợp lý. Nên tóm lại, một cái câu như thế này thì sẽ rất là dễ dẫn đến tranh chấp. Sorry. Các em thấy cái câu mà trả lời này nè, thì ý như là cô nói phải không? Nếu như mà phải cái việc đăng ký này cần phải làm theo quy định của pháp luật. Hồi nãy giờ có hai ví dụ mà cô lấy từ cái hợp đồng rất là khó nhằn, là hợp đồng cấp tín dụng hợp vốn, syndicated loan agreement. Nó hơi khó so với các bạn. Okay, the next one. Cái này cũng từ cái hợp đồng đó mà ra. Xong rồi nó có unless, nó lại có thêm to the extent that nữa. Cố lên ha, suy nghĩ thử xem nó có nghĩa là gì. Okay. So unless means Hồng Ngọc.
Cô ơi, nãy giờ nó vẫn ở task 1 á cô, nó chưa có chuyển sang task 2.
Ok vậy. Trời ơi. Cô stop share, cô share lại nha. Từ lúc cô thấy bạn chat là cô đã chuyển sang rồi mà. Rồi được chưa, thấy có sai chứ các em?
Rồi cô thấy sai mới rồi.
Thôi mấy đứa chụp lại giùm cô để về nhà làm đi. Nãy giờ cô ngồi, cô tính ra cô ngồi cô đợi mấy đứa làm xong. Okay. So another one with as if, such. So in legal English, you can see that they use as if quite often. And I think you remember that after as if, we use the past tense, right? Here, with simple past, like we change it into the past perfect, or present perfect, we change it into the past perfect. And as if, such money. So please see task 3. And money is here with S. No problem, right? In modern language, money can be counted. I think it's easier. You can see here there is only one word refers to monies, right? And then as if. So please help me translate it into Vietnamese. Thanh nhàn, please.
Sorry, miss. I have no idea about this sentence.
So try. Em dịch thử đi, giờ có sẵn không đó.
Nếu bất kỳ khoản tiền nào trả cho bên facility agent.
Em skip cái chữ facility agent đi. Đầu mối cấp tín dụng hợp vốn. Không biết thì bỏ qua chữ đó nha, mấy kia cô nghĩ dịch được mà.
Nếu bất kỳ khoản tiền nào đã trả cho đại lý cấp tín dụng vốn liên quan đến đảm bảo này được yêu cầu hoàn trả theo bất kỳ luật nào liên quan đến việc mất khả năng thanh toán, phá sản hoặc thanh lý.
Nhưng mà em dịch nguyên cái are required to be repaid là cái gì? Em dịch thoát cái đó xong là nó mất nghĩa luôn. Guarantee có nghĩa là gì?
Bảo đảm này.
Bảo lãnh. Đây gì nữa?
Liên quan đến bảo lãnh này bị yêu cầu phải hoàn trả bởi hiệu lực của bất kỳ luật liên quan đến việc mất khả năng thanh toán, phá sản hoặc là thanh lý, hoặc bất kỳ lý do nào khác. Đại lý thì sẽ có quyền thực thi bảo lãnh này nếu những khoản tiền đó chưa được thanh toán.
As if là gì em? As if này giống y như là tiếng Anh bình thường thôi.
Cứ như là cứ như là những khoản tiền đó chưa được thanh toán.
Hệt như, giống y như là, Em dịch xong biết em có hiểu không? Cô không hiểu. Có bạn nào khác nói lại giùm cô không? Đây là một phần nói về bảo lãnh. Các bạn nào xung phong mà. Ở đây thứ nhất là có cái sự ambiguity trong trường hợp các bạn dùng chữ the money is paid. Paid ở đây được hiểu là khoản tiền này đã trả hay chưa trả hay là phải trả. Right? If any money is payable, it's more meaningful, right? Any ideas? Rồi, thấy cái suggested translation chưa? Và nếu có bất kỳ khoản tiền nào được trả cho thành viên đầu mối cấp tín dụng hợp vốn liên quan đến hợp đồng này, liên quan đến this guarantee, ở đây nếu mà chữ this guarantee được định nghĩa là cái hợp đồng bảo lãnh này hoặc là cái bảo lãnh này là văn bản bảo lãnh này thì tùy theo ngữ cảnh ha. Ở trong đây nó được định nghĩa là guarantee là hợp đồng bảo lãnh phải được hoàn trả, tức là đã trả rồi thì phải hoàn trả lại theo quy định pháp luật liên quan về mất khả năng thanh toán tài sản, phá sản, thanh lý gì đó hoặc bất cứ lý do nào khác, thì thành viên đầu mối cấp tín dụng hợp vốn có quyền thi hành cái bảo lãnh này, hợp đồng bảo lãnh này như thể là cái khoản tiền đó chưa được trả. Thì cái dịch này có vấn đề một chút xíu liên quan đến cái chữ guarantee. Khi thì dịch guarantee là hợp đồng, khi thì dịch hợp đồng bảo lãnh ha. Sẽ lại guarantee nó là hợp đồng bảo lãnh luôn thì nó sẽ rõ nghĩa. Đây. Vì nó được trả rồi mà theo quy định của luật nó phải hoàn trả lại, nên đầu mối cấp tín dụng hợp vốn được quyền yêu cầu anh phải trả lại và xem cái khoản tiền đó là khoản tiền chưa trả. Lớp hiểu không ạ? Khoản tiền đã trả rồi nhưng bây giờ theo như luật về phá sản anh phải trả lại. Thì lúc đó xem là chưa có trả để bên kia trả lại cái khoản tiền đó. Ok. Nói chung đặc biệt cái giao dịch này nó hơi phức tạp, các bạn phải đọc qua một cái thông tư liên quan đến khoản vay cấp tín dụng hợp vốn thì các bạn mới hiểu cái bản chất bảo lãnh như thế nào. Now we come to the next section, so I think it would be easier for you. The word only. So we know that only modifies the words or the phrase it immediately precedes. Right? Only the buyer shall inspect the goods on the dock. Just means that only the buyer, it modifies the buyer. And if you put only before shall, it modifies shall. So similarly with others. Right? So there could be an issue here. Sorry. Okay. So to avoid ambiguity, so we just like put the word only right before the word or the word or the phrase it modifies. Right, truncated passive. We have the example. All cash orders must be reported to the bank within 10 days. So the answer, the question here is, who will report? Right, who will report? So in contract, you cannot say something in general like this one, right? You need to have like clear provisions on the rights and obligations of each party to the contract. So if you say in general like this, who will be in charge of that? No one. So if that's the case, no one will report. So we should change it, and then we have the agents by, or the better way to do this one is to put or to convert the passive sentence into the active one. The all cash orders must be reported to the bank within 10 days by the contractor owner. So using the other knowledge that we studied so far, so can you tell me whether the sentence all cash orders must be reported to the bank within 10 days by the contractor or the owner? Is it clear? Or is there any ambiguity for the sentence? Any idea? Hoa Thi. Hello Hoa Thi.
Yes,
Câu này ổn chưa em?
I think we should change the passive voice into like the owner or the contractor must report to the bank or must report all change orders to the bank within 10 days.
Who will do that?
The contractors or the owner.
The contractor or the owner. And then no one do that. Understand? Bây giờ nếu như mà trong một cái hợp đồng mà em ghi là by the contractor or the owner, thì cuối cùng ai làm? Đấy. If you say in general like that, no one will be responsible. Sorry. Any opinions? Any other opinions? Các bạn khác cho cô ý kiến đi. Cái câu này nó có nhiều vấn đề lắm á. Lớp ơi.
Em nghĩ là cả hai bên luôn phải không cô?
Vấn đề nó nằm ở chỗ cái dấu xuyệt xuống. Tôi đồng ý. Nó có thể là dẫn đến cái ambiguity là không biết nó là the constructor hay the owner. Rồi mình nhận diện được một issue đó rồi. Bây giờ cô đến nhận diện dùm issue dùm cô thôi. Thì em nói là cô đồng ý. Và còn có cái issue nào nữa hay không?
cái thời gian đó là within 10 days, mình phải là có mốc thời gian rõ ràng như là kể từ ngày nào đó.
Excellent. Excellent. So that is the issue. Nhá. Giờ mình nhận diện issue trước đi rồi có thể là mình sửa được hoặc là không sửa được, nhưng mà đây là vấn đề là within 10 days is from what? Or from what time? Yeah, that's the issue. Another issue beside the contractor and the owner. Who? Either of them, both of them. So if either of them, in what case it will be reported by the contractor? In what case it needs to be reported by the owner? No one knows, right? Which are that? So we know that which is used for non-restrictive clause, and that is used for restrictive clause, right? The buyer shall inspect the goods which are on the loading dock. So here is non-restrictive clause, so we can delete which are on the loading dock. And then we should use that to refer to the restrictive clause. But in reality, in practice, so when we use the relative clause like this one, in order to avoid ambiguity, people don't care much about the comma before which, and they prefer using which but not that. Actually, in this sentence, you're studying about the traditional and the like academic grammar, but in practice, like whenever I use that in relative sentence, and my partner usually writes it and change it into which, and it doesn't have a comma before which. He used that as a restrictive clause. He used which as a restrictive clause. Why don't they use that? Is it because in one sentence, there may be a lot of that. Like it is said that, the parties agree that. Yeah. And then if we use that in a relative clause, sometimes it may cause misunderstanding that like starts a noun clause or noun phrase. So in relative clause, people prefer using which instead of that. Now, the basement wall defect which costs less than $100 to correct shall not be submitted to this arbitration. So they want you to just to make clear whether it is a restrictive or non-restrictive. And then to use which or that. But again, in practice, we don't care about that. We just use which. So if it is non-restrictive, we have comma, and with restrictive, no comma. Plural nouns. An applicant must file an appeal within 10 days after the date on which the applicant is denied. So here within 10 days, and they have the time to refer to, right? After the date on which. Employees with children qualifying for coverage must file affidavits of eligibility from persons listed below. So you said when you say something in general, we can use singular noun with or on. But then sometimes we use it in a plural form. Now if you say dogs are intelligent, or we say a dog is intelligent, both are acceptable. Yeah. So you use plural form to refer to something general. But it's subject to the situation where we should use singular noun with or un, or we use plural noun. In the second sentence, we can say, an employee with a child qualifying for coverage must file an affidavit for eligibility from a person listed below. Okay? So be careful. So if you use something very general and you use the persons, the of eligible person listed below. So all persons are one of the persons. Commas and semicolons. So have the Anthony presented his closing arguments. The judge instructed the jury, and the jury retired to consider the case. Small, Nelson, and Lee attended the conference. So you use comma, so to separate the noun and to make it like separately. And you can say that it avoids being interpreted like and. The two one come. Now how about this one? Dealer will maintain a supply of pasts in the following colors: red, blue, orange, and black. Is it ambiguous? For sure. So the hats with all 4 colors, or the hats with red color, and some with blue, some with orange, and some with black, or all of them? That's a question, right? And how about semicolons? So it's highlight commas, but it is in between comma and period, a full stop. The available color combination are red, white, and blue, yellow, green, and tan, gold, red, purple. So they divided into 3 color ranges, right? And then they use semicolon. This is more than it has high level than comma. It's less than a full stop punctuation. So any questions for today's class? And it's also the end of our chapter on avoiding ambiguity. So we have the ambiguities in the word, the meaning, the semantics aspects, and today we'll learn something about the syntactic, right? So any questions?
No, I don't.
Thank you. I'll give you sentences that you should do to figure out the ambiguity.
Sorry, teacher. Can you send those slides to e-learning for easier for us to review? Because it's too information that we cannot
I send you the we need to have the handout, not the PowerPoint.
Okay, teacher.
And this one is very long. So we take classes on Monday and Wednesday next week just to correct those exercises. We'll send it to you.